Hola, I'm Jorge Ramos.
And I'm Paola Ramos.
And this is The Moment.
All right, Dad, we are starting with good news for a change. We're not starting with ice rays. We're not starting with an ambition Venezuela with Donald Trump. We are starting with Bad Bunny. And we are, of course, in the middle of a very exciting week. We just witnessed the Grammys this weekend where Bad Bunny made history. He wasn't just nominated for 6 awards, he won 3 awards. And Dad, he won the most important one, which is Album of the Year. And I think everyone had this question, will Bad Bunny say something about the ice raids? And he did. He got on that stage and he said the words. He said, ice out.
Yes, Paula, I found it really interesting that Bad Bunny talked about ICE during the Grammys. As you know, he has decided not to give concerts in the United States in order to prevent ICE raids against immigrants. And we just spent a few days in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we saw definitely signs of resistance in Minneapolis. And now, talking about Bad Bunny, I think in a way, he's also a great example of resistance, not only in the United States, but also in Puerto Rico.
That's right, because I think music can serve as a tool of resistance, right? And I think we kind of saw that, Dad, when we were marching and covering those protests in downtown Minneapolis, where you kind of see both sides of the story that's playing out in front of our eyes right now. No, yes, there's the pain, this unimaginable damage that has been done in Minneapolis. We saw that, but we also saw the other side, which are these very subtle moments of joy. And that joy, I heard it when I heard people singing and chanting in this kind of chorus, that brings together all the organizers that are currently protesting in downtown Minneapolis. And what connects both sides, what connects the dots, is something like music. It's someone like Bad Bunny that embodies all of that. He embodies the politics, the resistance, the message, Puerto Rico, the roots. He embodies, I think, what Latinos are feeling in this moment. And so to lean into that moment, Dad, we're going to talk to 2 literal Bad Bunny scholars. We're interviewing Dr. Petra Rivera-Rideau, who's from Wellesley University, and Dr. Vanessa Díaz from Loyola Marymount University, 2 incredible professors. They know a lot about many different things, but in this moment, they are literally teaching their students courses on Bad Bunny, courses about Puerto Rico, courses about history, about music, but yes, about Bad Bunny. Most importantly, both of these professors just recently launched their newest book, and it's titled P-F-R, Bad Bunny and the Sounds of Resistance in Puerto Rico.
So here's the book. It's really, really interesting. So after the break, we'll be asking them about the political role of Bad Bunny, his music, the independence of Puerto Rico, and also what to expect during the Super Bowl. And at the end of the podcast, stay with us because we're going to try something new. Paola and I are going to be sharing with you what we thought about the interview during the recording. So stay with us and we'll be right back. I just want to say that we're so excited to talking with both of you because soy un tiburón. Soy un fanático de Bad Bunny. I've been to 3 concerts in Miami, in Mexico City, in front of 80,000 people. And of course, I went to El Choliseo for his residence. And I just can't wait to talk to you because I'm 67 and I was with people half my age, dancing, perreando, and I'm here with you, so I'm so excited.
I have to say, guys, that I've rarely seen my dad dance, ever. Only Bad Bunny can make my father dance. And that is a scene amazing. I will never unsee.
Well, that's what we're being promised, right? The Super Bowl.
That's what we're being promised for the Super Bowl.
We're being promised that the world will dance.
Exactly. Yeah. And on that note, I want to officially welcome Petra and Vanessa to the moment. Thank you both for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. Yeah,
I think this is the first time, Dad, in a very long time that we're starting with good news. Honestly, I mean, it's been weeks and weeks of very, very, very difficult topics that we've been covering in this podcast. But I think today we can say that this weekend, history was made. Bad Bunny didn't just receive 6 nominations, but he took home 3 awards. And he, of course, won Album of the Year. And in that award, he made history. He became the first Latina to ever win that award, the first Spanish language album to ever win that category. And before we start, I want to show you both part of his acceptance clip. Let's play that.
Thanks to God, I'm going to say, eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans, and we are Americans. Also, I want to say to the people, I know it's tough to know, not to hate on these days. And I was thinking, sometimes we get contaminados. I don't know how to say that in English. The hate get more powerful with more hate. The only thing that is more powerful than hate is love. So, please, we need to be different. If we fight, we have to do it with love. We don't hate them. We love our people. We love
the wars that I think captivated the entire country were ice out. So how much weight did those words carry? Petra, let's start with you.
A lot. I mean, I think it was ice out, but then it was also the other part, right? We are not savages. We are not animals. We are humans. We are Americans. That was amazing to hear that from him. And to hear it in English, I think is really important because in that particular speech, he was speaking to American audiences, right? Whereas in the other speech, which was mostly in Spanish, he was speaking to Spanish speakers and Latinos. But the fact that he said that with that second part and did it in English, I thought it was amazing.
How did you react, Vanessa?
The whole event and those wins of his were so incredibly emotional. But I think that I would say I wasn't surprised because Bad Bunny has always spoken up for what he believes in. And I think that's one of the things that happened. Like, as soon as he got up there, I agree that we have mostly seen him speak in Spanish, particularly at award shows, right? Even in the Grammys in 2023, he didn't speak any words in English. So I think that the fact, as Petra pointed out, that he spoke in English, it was like he was speaking directly to people who are supporting ICE, right? He was speaking out and speaking clearly. And I think just reminding us that he is who we think he is. And he is an artist who always is going to stand up for what he believes in. He is a figure of resistance. He has been since the first time he took a stage on American television, and he is now, despite all of his accolades and all of the pressure on him. He always tells us, I never forget who I am. I never forget what I believe in. And he got on stage and he showed us that last night. And so I just felt immense pride, immense emotion, and, really hoped that he would take the stage again that night.
I think before we continue, I do want to remind our listeners why we're talking to both of you specifically, right? Not only are you just incredible scholars on your own, but I think you somehow have like the coolest title that any professor and scholar would ever want, which is literally like a Bad Bunny scholar, which is something that I never thought I would say out loud. And to have the privilege of talking and interviewing two Bad Bunny scholars is, again, something that I will always put on my resume. But before we get into other topics, like, how did you find yourselves becoming Bad Bunny scholars? How does one do that?
Well, I mean, so my first book, which came out in 2015, is called Remixing Reggaeton. And it's like a history of reggaeton it kind of ends around the gasolina times, right? So I was already doing a lot of reggaeton stuff. And I had the opportunity to meet Bad Bunny in 2019. Some students brought him to Harvard for like a charla, and I was the moderator.
Which would be like impossible these days to do
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that.
And he was, and he was super young. He only had one album out at that time. And talking to him was super interesting. Like, he was a very interesting guy. And I was like, oh, no wonder my students like him. Because also my students were writing papers about his work all the time.
Wow.
In my music class, we talk about all kinds of genres, all kinds of artists. And like 75% of all of my assignments were about Bad Bunny.
Oh my God.
So I decided to combine him with this class I also taught about the history of Puerto Rico, but the history of Puerto Rico wasn't enrolling that many students, so I didn't get to teach it very often. So I stuck Bad Bunny on there, and then it filled up.
It filled up.
And so, because like Vanessa said, like his whole career, like he has been someone who's been very outspoken. So he's a great hook, and it's very relevant, So I used that to make this class, and then Vanessa and I connected shortly afterwards. You want to take it from there, Vanessa?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Similar to Petra, I had been using Bad Bunny's work in my intro to Latino studies courses. I used his first album, songs like Caro, to talk about masculinity and gender and sexuality in representations of Latinos. And it resonated with the students so much that I kept following his career. And then summer of 2019, when he abandoned his tour in Europe to go back to Puerto Rico, to march in the streets, to put out protest songs like Afilando los Cuchillos, I was just like, okay, this is more than just a section in my class. This is a whole class. And so I started organizing the course, saw Petra had just taught it, we connected, created the Bad Bunny syllabus, and then really started thinking about ideas that led to this book that we just came out with.
Very quickly, are both of your classes completely full? Like, is the Bad Bunny... Yes, you're both shaking your head.
Yeah, I have wait lists. Last semester, I had to teach 2 sections because my school was basically like, we need you to teach this class more. I mean, he talked about our classes both by name in an interview with Jimmy Fallon in 2023. So the students who are registering have actually heard him speak himself about these courses.
Incredible.
So they want to take it.
Yeah. Yeah. I even have a student who is currently a sophomore, and she's at Wellesley College because of that interview with Jimmy Fallon. Because she had not heard of Wellesley College, which is a women's college in Massachusetts. She's from Florida. She saw that interview, and now she's here. So it's amazing.
Yeah. So I think it would be clearly a mistake to say that Bad Bunny, Benito Martínez Ocasio, he's just a singer. He's just a reggaetonero. He's definitely much more than that. And I just want to tell you, Paola and I, we spent the last few days in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, and we heard a lot about the resistance movement against the threats to democracy in the United States and in Minnesota. And both of you, of course, in your book, you write about the resistance movement. Do you see any connection whatsoever with what's happening in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, with what is happening in Puerto Rico, Vanessa?
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things we write about in the book, but that everyone could see in plain sight, was that the movement in 2019, right, the summer of 2019 in Puerto Rico, was a movement that really brought together everyone. In Puerto Rico, it can be very divided within one household. You can have people who are for statehood, for independence, and for the continuation of the Commonwealth, which most people see as a colony. And in the moment of 2019 was galvanizing and unifying. It was everyone in the streets protesting regardless of what you believed for the future of Puerto Rico. What you believed in was justice. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. People in the streets of Minneapolis are Republicans, are Democrats, are independents, are of all spectrums. And it's because when there is something so clear, when there is something so unjust and it's just undeniable, people do come together. And that is the beauty of people mobilizing. And often those things have a soundtrack. That's where Bad Bunny comes into this conversation.
Petra?
I totally agree with what Vanessa said. And I also think, and this is sort of a professory thing to say maybe, but, also like the roots of these controversies are the same, right? And by that, I mean, the same logic that is used to justify the continued colonization of Puerto Rico is the same logic that's being used to target Latinos, to target immigrants, to present Latinos as foreigners who don't belong, right? And so, like Puerto Rico, another cool part of the Grammys that I'm hoping to use in my class tomorrow is when Trevor Noah is sitting with him and he says, "Can I come to Puerto Rico if things go south?" And Bad Bunny says, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, right? And he puts the part in scare quotes.
Yeah, can I ask you a favor? If things keep getting worse in America, can I come live with you in Puerto Rico?
Trevor, I have some news for you. Puerto Rico is part of America, so it's just...
Don't tell them. Don't tell them, Benny. I need a plan B. Shh.
That part, that idea of like Puerto Rico is foreign in a domestic sense. That's what the Supreme Court said in the insular cases. Like it's the same sort of logic around race and citizenship and who counts as an American and who doesn't. That is the roots of these crises. So even though one is in Puerto Rico and one is in Minneapolis and they're, several years apart, they're grounded in the same kind of structures of inequality.
So let me ask you about the political Bad Bunny. He openly supported candidates in the last election in Puerto Rico. Of course, in his song El Apagón, he talks about the lack of electricity on the island. And he has decided not to give concerts in the United States so ICE agents wouldn't be arresting and deporting people going to his concerts. But many people say that he's not political enough, that he doesn't want to talk about certain issues like Palestine or criticize directly President Donald Trump. I wonder if we're asking too much from him or if he's political enough, Petra.
Well, first, he has really criticized Donald Trump. I mean, one of his very first T-shirts that he wore was like, "Are you a president or are you a tweeter?" After Hurricane Maria. So he's definitely criticized. And his first appearance on Jimmy Fallon, he said Trump is in denial and criticized the first Trump administration's response to Hurricane Maria. But I think that we put a huge amount of pressure, particularly on artists of color and women, to speak out about issues, right? We don't put the same amount of pressure on Justin Bieber to speak out about an issue, right? So that's one thing. But the other thing about Bad Bunny, I think, is that he speaks a lot on issues he cares about. So one thing I'm thinking about is one editorial during the 2024 elections that was circulating was this editorial of how come Bad Bunny's not out there campaigning for Kamala Harris. But he was very busy doing all kinds of things for this campaign in Puerto Rico where he could actually vote, where he couldn't even vote for Kamala Harris if he wanted to. And so I actually think he's more political than a lot of other artists. And he really speaks about the things that he cares deeply about and knows a lot about. And I think that we can critique him for different things. And we do that in our book too. But I do think that this is a bigger issue than Bad Bunny, that we spend a lot of time critiquing people of color and women for not speaking out and thinking that they have a particular responsibility to do so.
That's true, Vanessa, because we don't expect Taylor Swift just to be as political as Bad Bunny has been, right?
Yeah.
I think the thing about Bad Bunny is also he is one person. He is not our Lord and Savior. He is an incredible artist who has used his platform to speak out really clearly about the things that he cares about the most. So he is centering Puerto Rico all the time, every time we turn around. Yes, he has spoken up about other issues specific to Puerto Rico, but I also think that what we've seen over time is that from the beginning of his career to now, he has evolved politically. He has gotten more precise in his targeted critiques of things like U.S. colonialism, because he started as like a 20, 21-year-old, and now he's in his early 30s. And so I think we've seen this natural evolution. And I think one thing he's always been clear about, he got critiques for not speaking out quickly enough about the Black Lives Matter movement. But what we saw after that was he came out with a song like Compositor del Año, which was a searing, very clearly political critique, critiquing white supremacy, critiquing anti-Black racism and police brutality. And that was his way. And it was through music. So he said at the 2025 Latin Grammys, he said, everyone, finds their own way to like defend their homeland, and mine is through music. So he has been very clear about his contributions are through music. And I totally understand the critiques about not speaking about every single issue. I also think it's important for people to kind of understand their lane. And in a Billboard interview, when they did the global issue, he did specifically name how people from Palestine and Gaza have used songs like Debí Tirar Más Fotos to represent how their homeland is something to like hold on to and cherish. He did have Ile come up at his residency who said, Viva Palestina Libre, Viva Puerto Rico Libre. And so I think platforming different artists when he doesn't feel equipped to handle something, or mentioning these things that do resonate with him, is important. And also recognizing that he can't do it all. He just can't.
Yeah, I think we're so used to, and I'll speak for you and I, Dad, right? Like we're so used to the very quick reactions to the news, right? And done, I think, in traditional ways that I think as I'm hearing both of you speak, I think truly his power is that he's able to do it in very subtle ways, perhaps outside of the traditional political frames. And that's the power, that he has. And then what's interesting,
And
though,
he's
is that
doing it in English. He's
now
doing
in
it in English
English.
now. I was surprised at the Grammys. Yes.
Well, and then here we are, just days away from the Super Bowl, and he's become one of the most politicized people, right? Where suddenly, when it was announced, right, that Bad Bunny was the one to be performing in the NFL's halftime show, MAGA had a complete meltdown, right? You had President Trump tweeting, or I forgot what, or Xing, however you say it these days, like literally saying that that to choose Bad Bunny was, and I'm quoting him, absolutely ridiculous. And I'm quoting him again, and that it was a terrible choice for the Super Bowl halftime. And so then you kind of zoom into different polls, right? And some polls, and I'm reading this, there's this recent poll, guys, that is showing that nearly half of Americans approve of the NFL's decision, while the other half don't approve or simply don't care. And so my question to both of you is, did you anticipate this backlash from MAGA, Vanessa?
I think that I am entirely unsurprised by the backlash. I didn't anticipate the choice of Bad Bunny. It makes
Really,
total sense to me. It makes complete sense, but given the moment and given NFL's history, even though we've seen provocative artist choices and shows, I wasn't awaiting this announcement by any stretch of the imagination. So I wasn't awaiting the critique, but I'm absolutely not surprised by it. Bad Bunny is someone who has really always been outside of the box. I mean, he got critiqued in the beginning of his career because he wore shorts above his knees and painted his nails. And so even other música urbana artists were like, who is this guy and what is he doing? So that Bad Bunny becomes this really easy way to talk about everything that's wrong with Latinos, everything that's wrong with
the wokeism,
quote unquote liberals. Exactly. It's like, oh, well, he had a video where he dressed in drag. Right? But the whole point is that he has done all of these things that make him a very easy target. And so I'm not surprised by it, but I do think that the reality is it doesn't matter what Bad Bunny did and what Bad Bunny does, that there is going to be hate and there is going to be vitriol, because we are in a massive moment of criminalizing and terrorizing Latinos and Spanish speakers. And he is a loud, proud Puerto Rican Spanish speaker who's broken unimaginable records for our community. And so, of course, they're going to stand up and represent hate for the beauty that he brings to the table, because he contradicts everything that they say about Latinos and shows how powerful and important we are.
Let me ask you, Petra, because I think you said something that I think is very true. No, this through line from Puerto Rico to what the interior is seeing, which is the way in which some look at Latinos and define them as un-American. And I'm wondering, what is it about Bad Bunny specifically that is causing this reaction, right? Because we've had non-quote unquote, we've had other artists performing like J-Lo, like Shakira. They themselves performed in Spanish, during some halftime shows. And so what is it specifically about Bad Bunny that is causing this reaction?
Well, I think one thing is the Spanish, right? So J-Lo and Shakira had Spanish in their halftime show, but they also had a lot of English. And a lot of American audiences are familiar with them, right? Like, I think of J-Lo as someone who sings predominantly in English and like happens to be Latina. And Shakira, although she sings predominantly in Spanish, mainstream America was introduced to her through her English language crossover, right? And this Bad Bunny, he literally can't sing in English. He has like 0 English songs, right?
Yeah.
And so we know he's going to sing in Spanish, and that is very threatening, I think, to people. I was actually surprised to hear some of the backlash about his painting his nails and wearing women's clothing, because it didn't occur to me that people knew that much about him, to be honest, to be able to even critique that aspect of his performance. So, I mean, I think the gender part is a big part of it, but I really think it's the fact that he's a Spanish speaker. I mean, and I agree with Vanessa. For me, there is this, like, on the one hand, as a business decision, it's a great choice, right? There's really no one else. And also, if you're trying to make a more global audience for US football, like, who else could you have, On the other hand—
Does that bother you, though?
Yeah.
That it's also a business decision?
A profit, yeah. And I'm saying purely, and my dad and I have talked about it, right? Like, is it the idea that like an institution like the NFL, which, we don't really one can decipher what their politics are, no? Does any of that aspect bother you? The fact that perhaps there's they're doing it for profit when they're not truly, quote unquote, standing with the cause?
Yeah.
It's an open question.
I mean, I think that one of the things Vanessa and I talk a lot about in our book and in our classes is that everything is like one gigantic contradiction, and we're always kind of navigating the pros and cons of everything, right? Another example we bring up sometimes is the residency, right? The residency injected millions of dollars into the Puerto Rican economy. It was just like a huge cultural moment. There were also a lot of people going and staying in Airbnbs. And Airbnbs and vacation rentals is one of the big things that's driving gentrification on the island. So what is the answer? Not to do the residency in Puerto Rico, to do it in Las Vegas like everybody else? In this case, I feel like the pro and con, to me, the pro outweighs the con of the NFL is going to make money no matter who does the halftime show. So to use that platform, to me, is really a great thing. This is like one of the biggest platforms in the world, and to use it to kind of spread his message and represent Puerto Rico, I think is amazing. And I think, to me, that's more important. Because we're not going to stop the NFL from profiting off the halftime show, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Talking about the contradictions in your book, Bad Bunny and the Sounds of Resistance, page 177, you write,
he's done
Bad
his
Bunny is
homework.
at once mainstream and marginalized. He's one of the biggest celebrities in the world, yet he's still undervalued and sometimes outright dismissed in the U.S. mainstream celebrity and entertainment world. So he's a little bit of both, right? Incredibly that the most important artist in the world is being discriminated. Maybe, no?
The announcement for the Super Bowl and the backlash that came after it made what we said in that very passage just show that it wasn't just when we started to talk about that in 2023, right? Because we noticed that around that specific passages in relationship to moments like the Grammys, where they couldn't even give him proper closed captioning, right? It's so ridiculous. And yet we fast forward to 2026, he's won all of these new accolades, right? He's become the most streamed artist in the world again. And yet the backlash is immediate and racist and horrible. And so it yes, continues to emphasize that as big as he is, this isn't like, oh, wow, the U.S. is really ready for a Latino superstar to be the biggest person, like representing us on a global platform. Absolutely not. The U.S. makes very clear time and time again that Latinos are outsiders who don't belong, who are constantly treated and purported to be just completely outside of what it means to be American. And so it's incredible, in fact, that even with that clarity, he continues to be chosen for these moments. So yeah, regardless of what the NFL thinks and feels and supports politically, he's getting this stage. And I think that he has navigated these things as beautifully as possible. I mean, in the wake of the backlash, he went on SNL and said, yeah, I'm going to perform in Spanish. You can learn Spanish. And if you don't, too bad for you.
We have to take a break. And when we come back, we continue our conversation about the book, Bad Bunny and the Sounds of Resistance in Puerto Rico. We continue our conversation with Vanessa Díaz and Petra Rivera-Rideau. Las dos, thanks so much for talking to us. So I've been lucky enough to go to 3 Bad Bunny concerts, one in Miami, another one in Mexico City. It was incredible, 80,000 people in El Estadio Azteca. It was incredible. And then, of course, in his residency, the last concert at El Choliseo. And it's I got the impression, especially in Puerto Rico, that he was promoting the idea not only of autonomía, but that he was actually promoting the independence of Puerto Rico. And is that how you read it? Is he promoting the idea that Puerto Rico has to become an independent nation? Petra?
I mean, I think so, especially in his last album, Debí Tirar Más Fotos, right? Like, I think as Vanessa said earlier, we've seen his political consciousness kind of grow over time. And then in 2024, he participates in the Festival de la Esperanza, which is the closing campaign for La Alianza, which is a kind of joint venture from the Puerto Rican Independence Party and another party called the MDC. So this is the first time a pro-independence candidate is actually a viable person to win the governorship in Puerto Rico. And Bad Bunny gets up there, he gives a 30-minute speech, he performs, right? So that was a very clear endorsement. He participates in the election in other ways too, taking out ads, billboards. And then I think in his last album, in several songs, he makes references to being an independentista, even though he doesn't say it that way, right? So for instance, in La Mudanza, he has a line that says, I hope that they play my song when they bring Hostos, right? And Hostos refers to Eugenio María de Hostos, who was an independence and activist and abolitionist whose remains, he passed away, I think, in 1903. His remains are still in the Dominican Republic because he said, don't bury me in Puerto Rico until it's free, right? So and obviously there's Lo que pasó a Hawaii, which is, a whole kind of meditation on the dangers of getting sort of sucked in by this empire and losing your culture, losing your identity. So I feel like in the past year, we've received the most clear stance on what he thinks the status of Puerto Rico should be, but he doesn't say it outright, right? He doesn't say, I'm an independentista, but he says, he gives us these hints. And the last thing I'll say is, it's also clear, one of the things we do in our book is talk a lot about the people who worked with him and who have mentored him and helped kind of pave the way for him. And these include people like Residente from Calle 13, who's been very vocal about being pro-independence, and people like Cato Lopez Mari, who's a music video director, who's directed several important videos for Bad Bunny, including El Apagón. And his grandfather, Juan Maribras, was one of the most important independence leaders in Puerto Rico in the 20th century. So I feel like he also surrounds himself with people who believe in this cause.
Mm-hmm. And so Vanessa, is it too much to say that he's leading a revolution in Puerto Rico?
I think that I wouldn't say he's leading a revolution. I would say he is the face of it in a way, because he's created the soundtrack. I think he's motivated a generation. And I think that he's very clear about the fact that he himself doesn't purport to be the activist. I think he himself speaks up as someone who supports what he believes is best for Puerto Rico. And he tries to do that through many different ways of supporting the very activists on the ground themselves. So, and he is the global face and the global voice of this resistance. So we have to pay attention to him.
When you look at all of his albums, right, when you kind of see the map of the albums, what about Debí Tirar Más Fotos makes it so groundbreaking?
Oh, everything.
Everything.
I mean, I think I think there's a couple things to really point to.
And I'm talking both about the politics and the history, but also just from a musical standpoint.
The music. Absolutely. Right. So that's the first thing I was going to say, was that despite the fact that he has advocated for Puerto Rico in many different ways, this is the first album where we see him bring so many different kinds of really important traditional Puerto Rican genres to the table. So he's mixing reggaeton with genres like plena, which, are incredibly political and important historically. It's an Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Puerto Rican genre as well that, a song like DTMF becomes #1 in the world. This is a genre that really most people in the world had never heard before if you were not Puerto Rican or really familiar with Puerto Rican kind of folk music. He has aguinaldos, he has elements of bomba. So just this really broad range of Puerto Rican music being brought to the global stage is the first thing. And I think the other part of it is what Petra and I have both touched on in different moments, which is that the refining of his political statements that frankly come through even in the reggaeton songs. If we take a song like, Eo, and at the end he says, you're listening to music from Puerto Rico, this is what we have brought to the table. This is our cultural significance. And so it's the cultural stakes, it's the political stakes. It's all of it together, and it feels like it really encapsulates the way that in that album he's representing a generation, but he's also really representing an entire cultural history.
Petra, for me, my dad and I, what we try and do in this podcast is really bring together different generations, older generations, younger generations, and I think. Bad Bunny is the master of that. No, only someone like him can get someone like my dad to dance.
Try to.
Me to, fly anywhere for him. Sure. You can hear him in quinceañeras. You can hear him in, I don't know, an 80-year-old's birthday party. There's something very unique about the way in which he can cross generations. Why do you think his music is so universal?
Well, I think that's a really great question. And I think this album really kind of pushed it over the edge, right? Because the reality is that reggaeton has historically received a huge amount of backlash, right? Yeah. And including 2 censorship campaigns, in the mid-90s, the early 2000s. So, and Bad Bunny has been critiqued by a lot of my relatives, right, for using bad words and things like that. And now Debí Tirar Más Fotos comes out, and my whole family is really into it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think part of it is this unique musical blend on this album that Vanessa is talking about. Pitorro de Coco is the first single, right? Or is it the second single? I don't know. It's an early single.
It was an early single. Second.
Yeah. I can't remember if that or El Club was first.
El Club was first.
Oh, yeah. So Pitorro de Coco uses this aguinaldo riff on a cuatro from Chuy de Bayamon. And so my father,
I love Chuy.
Well, it's a different Chuy. It's not the young Chuy people. It's an old Chuy from the 50s. Chuy de Bayamon.
Chuyito de Bayamon.
And my dad, who's in his late 70s, and my kids, who are in 4th and 7th grade, they, sat and listened to it, and it gave my dad an opportunity to explain to my kids, like, this is a cuatro, this is who this guy was, this is what this music is. And to me, that's so beautiful. And I see it so much in the interaction between my family, the elder people in my family, and my young children, that it isn't something that was very uncool to them is now cool. Right.
Yeah,
and so they're willing to learn about it and pay attention to it. So I think there's the thing about Bad Bunny that I also really appreciate about him is he is a really big student of Puerto Rican music, right? And when you hear what he talks about with his influences, who he brings on the stage with him, he really uses his platform to uplift young artists and also to give flowers to older artists, right? Like what he brought Jose Feliciano to Coachella, and Vanessa and I were like freaking out. A lot of the people sitting around us didn't know who Jose Feliciano was, right? I mean, he's this like huge musical icon. And so I feel like his ability to bring in the knowledge he knows about appeals to people like my father. And then his ability to like push the envelope musically and be cool appeals to people like my children. And those two things together, I think, make him a very popular multi-generational
Before
artist.
we end and ask you what you're expecting for Sunday, I wanted to tell you my experience in El Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, 80,000 people. He was singing, and then suddenly it was too much. It felt like the pressure was incredible because he was just by himself and the DJ, that's it. And then he put a towel, una toalla over his head. He stopped the concert and he waited, honestly, 3 minutes in complete silence. And I wonder if you think it's that this is too much for him. He's 31. He has so much pressure on him. What is he going to be doing on Sunday? But I wonder if he's handling the pressure and the fame. How is he doing that?
Well, I think there's a few things to the first point about the pressure and the fame. I think it's hard to sort of know exactly what's going on in those moments, because one of the things about him is that many times when he pauses, you'll notice that he cries a lot on stage. He gets kind of overwhelmed by the gravity of the moment. It happened last night, right?
That's right.
They announced that he won Album of the Year, and everyone's just kind of looking. He's like, I mean, my heart stopped because I'm like, can he even get up? He cried. I saw him 3 nights at El Choli. He cried every time. Every concert I've seen him at, he's cried. And I think it's the gravity, but I think it's also the kind of joy of it, which I think is part of what's mixed up with all of this, right? Like our book is, PFKNR, it's right. It's these expletives in the middle of it because it's like it's just kind of too much. It's okay, PFKNR, right? It's like, it's beautiful. Puerto Rico is beautiful and it's horrible. Puerto Rico está cabrón, it's amazing and it's fucked, right? And I think that is like when he's on stage, it's all of those emotions together. It's the gravity of what it means to represent Puerto Rico. It's the gravity of what it means to be this global icon, and yet like, really what he's doing is sharing his joy and his culture. And so I think he gets truly overwhelmed in these moments, and that masterful control to be able to be among 80,000 people and to go, you know what, I'm stopping. Yeah. And I mean, to me, it's connected, right? He stopped a tour in Europe to go protest with Puerto Rico. He's not afraid to pause. And so I think that one of the really important things, and we talk about this in the book as well, you see it when he thanks people, he has surrounded himself with a really solid crew of people that not just his family, but his friends from childhood, his, collaborators like Mag and Tiny, who are these icons, of Latin music and popular music, but they're tried and true with him. So I think that his corillo, as he would refer to it, I think is so solid and keeps him grounded, and his connection to his family and to his homeland always keeps him grounded. And frankly, I think that's exactly what we're going to see at the Super Bowl. I think we are going to see what he knows front and center. I think that, yes, it's going to appeal to a global audience, that there's going to be something for everyone across generations. Perhaps the world will dance, but also the world is going to learn some things about Puerto Rico, whether it's that they're going to learn what a güiro is, or what a cuatro is, or what a flamboyantry is. There's going to be these influxes of what it means to be Puerto Rican, what it means to be Latino in this moment. And I think that that is really consistent with what we see in these very moments that you're talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts una toalla over his head and pauses for 3 minutes of his 13-minute set at the Super Bowl, because that's just how he rolls, you know?
I mean, it takes a certain courage, Petra, to say ice out at the Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you expect him to say something like that at the NFL?
I mean, I don't know. I thought both of his speeches last night were so great. And I think he, is aware of the weight that his words carry. And so I think the fact that he said those things sort of ups the ante a bit for the Super Bowl and makes people want more.
Right.
And so I think something will happen. I mean, something I really like about Bad Bunny too is that he's always very surprising. I've been to a lot of Bad Bunny concerts. I mean, like, even if you go to a Choli, like, we went back to back. I went Saturday and I went Sunday. They're like still different, right?
Yeah.
Like, because he always has something up his sleeve. So I think there will be something interesting and new there. But I don't know what exactly. I guess it's a hard question for me because also his mere presence on that stage is a major political statement.
Completely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it would be a lot easier for him if he didn't go, right? Like, he doesn't even get paid for this, right? Like, so, like,
wait, he doesn't? I didn't know that.
No,
they don't get paid for this.
Artists do not get paid.
And that's how, yeah.
So, I think the fact that he agreed to do it at all means that there's probably something.
It sends a message.
Hesitant to predict what that could be,
Dad, I think we have to finish this show in one way, which is having Vanessa and Petra sing to us their favorite Bad Bunny song. That's the requirement. So I'm sure you both have done this before together, and so this is your stage.
We've never done this together. Vanessa sings a lot in her presentations, though.
It's true. I do.
Really? She does.
It's by accident. It turns into karaoke, and it's not
She'll be giving a talk, and then in the middle, she'll start singing like a song.
Lead us to the closure.
Aquí mataron gente por sacar la bandera. Por eso es que ahora yo la llevo donde quiero, cabrón. ¿Qué fue?
Thank you,
Petra,
so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
My favorite.
I don't know, Petra.
My favorite song it was Ojitos Lindos because it was very mellow. But then with Baile Inolvidable, I started taking salsa lessons because of him. So I think Baile Inolvidable and Ojitos Lindos from Bomba Stereo, it was my favorite. I don't know you.
I think.
Well, we can all sing Baile Inolvidable together, right? No te puedo olvidar. No te puedo olvidar. Tú me
enseñaste a querer. Me enseñaste a olvidar.
That's
my favorite.
Show them your salsa moves.
Queremos ver, Jorge, por favor.
No,
¿el perreo o la salsa? Tú puedes coger perreo o salsa. ¿Cuál va a ser?
Someday we're going to go see Bad Bunny together so that we can watch you perrear and salsa dance. Yes.
Thank you both. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. Jorge, did you know that you were my first interview when I started the Bad Bunny class was with you live?
I know. Gracias, Vanessa. So this is the book. The book is Bad Bunny and the Sounds of Resistance in Puerto Rico. Gracias a las dos. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, what'd you think,
Bueno, Paola, ¿qué?
No, yo.
¿Qué me pareció? I mean, it's not in my essence to talk about music, no? And
I know.
And just a few months ago, I started taking salsa lessons simply so I could dance to Bad Bunny, Baile Inolvidable. And what I thought about the interview is that I think we're expecting too much from Bad Bunny, no? Benito Martinez Ocasio, he's done great. I think he's going to be fantastic in the Super Bowl. But I think we're asking him to be the
To
most
be
listened to
everything.
artist in the world. We're asking him to be a political leader. We're asking him to talk about Donald Trump, Palestine, the independence of Puerto Rico. It's too much. It's way, way too much. And I think he's handling it beautifully.
Yeah, I think that was one of my takeaways, right? Like he does do it, right? And that's kind of what I learned today. It's through these very like subtle messages and moments throughout his career that his message is very loud in a way that I almost couldn't really see before having this conversation. But then I think you're right. No, there's so much pressure on him, but I think that's something that a lot of Latinos can kind of relate to. Know that we're often the only ones in the room, and then we're often, people that have to do everything perfectly, because if you mess up, then all of that then kind of tarnishes the image of Latinos. And I think what we're seeing in Bad Bunny is that in this like completely magnified lens. So I think many people can relate to that. What I thought was beautiful was this sentence that was said, right? Which is that, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that Bad Bunny's music is the soundtrack to the resistance. And that made me think about what we saw in Minneapolis, right? Which was beyond the pain that we saw and beyond these like really incredibly hard conversations that we were having with people. Everyone was singing at points, and there were these chants, and there was this like soundtrack to the political movement that's happening in Minneapolis. And I think, and I think in many ways, like Bad Bunny is the soundtrack to a resistance, and he doesn't have to say that. No, he can sing it, and that in and of itself, I think, carries people. And I thought that was really beautifully said.
Yeah, what I like about all these layers, on one hand, we see obviously the pop star dressed perfectly for the Grammys, and then the political leader, like it or not, in Puerto Rico, and then sort of the philosopher, not only those pauses that he makes during his concerts, but also if you think about it, maybe I'm just putting too much in Benito, pero there's a philosophy behind it, no? The idea of debí tirar más fotos is very profound in the sense that he's telling us, aprovecha el momento, no? Take advantage of the moment, because that's the only thing we have, no? Debí tirar más fotos is just abraza a los tuyos, no? A tus papás, a tus amigos, a tus hermanos, the one you love. So I think that's incredibly important, that we are seeing a lot of him, and then the capacity of synthesizing, summarizing the present, que es el reggaetón, and then the past, toda la música puertorriqueña. So he's at this point doing incredible things.
Yeah, and so let's see
Por eso
what he
soy
does.
tiburón, ¿no?
Por eso eres tiburón, porque alguien como él te saca de esa silla y te hace bailar, which I haven't seen you do that ever, really. But let's see what he does this Sunday in the Super Bowl. Let's see. All eyes are
and that's
on him.
one of the things that, and that's one of the great things that we can do doing these podcasts, that we can be political and be in Minnesota one day. Mira, eso es lo bonito, just incredible that we were in Minnesota yesterday, and today we're talking about Bad Bunny. I mean, is there any other profession that can give you that?
No, it's beautiful. And that
No.
Someone like him, I mean, talk about the moment. No, that someone like him will embody all of those different, I think, feelings that you and I have right now on Sunday. And you're right. Like before this conversation, I was thinking that perhaps Bad Bunny, like you say, Dad, right, had to take a stance in that Super Bowl stadium, right? I began the conversation thinking that almost that it was his duty to say something. But I think after this, like I learned, his role, his appearance speaks for itself and it speaks for the moment. And so let's see.
I've been trying for years to talk to him, and he doesn't want to give me an interview, and to others. But I read somewhere else, Paola, that he doesn't want to explain himself.
Yeah. He doesn't
And
want you asking him tough
I
questions. So you got to stop doing that.
No. Maybe tough questions, but he doesn't have to explain his behavior to anybody. And
that's the magic.
I like that. Yeah, there's a little bit of magic, right? There's a little bit of a secret that he's still holding for himself and his own, and I like that. Muy bien, Benito. Muy bien. Okay. Tú, Paula, vas a ver el Super Bowl? Are you going to be watching?
Yeah, I'll be watching and hear from Brooklyn. I'm going to have friends coming over. Everyone's already planning the after party.
Tú sabes what's so interesting is that if you ask many people who's playing,
Why? Eso ni me preguntes.
They might not know. No te lo voy a preguntar. Pero if you ask people who's playing, nobody knows.
No, I'm watching for Bad Bunny, obviously. Like that's what I'm tuning into. And also because for my brother, my poor brother, who is a former college American football player, I feel embarrassed at how little I know about American football, were it not for my brother. And so in his honor, I will also be tuning into the actual game. But the truth is, and I hope he's not listening to this, I'm tuning in for Bad Bunny. That's the truth. What are you guys
And I'm expecting a really tough reaction, a political reaction. The day after. Or even that night. We'll see.
Yeah, Trump's Twitter is going to be wild.
Voy a tirar muchas fotos ese día. Bye, Paulis.
Bye.
The Moment is a production of Radio Ambulante Studios in partnership with iHeart's My Cultura podcast network. Our staff includes Daniela Alarcón, Laura Rojas Aponte, and Miguel Santiago Colón, with help from Diego Corso, Elsa Liliana Ulloa, Paola Alian, and Natalia Ramirez. The CEO of Radio Ambulante Studios is Carolina Guerrero. Executive producers at iHeart are Leo Gomez and Arlene Santana. Mark Cannon, Pablo Cabrera, and Dylan Unger also serve as producers. Sound design, final mix, and theme song by Elias Gonzalez. Our hosts are Jorge Ramos and Paola Ramos. If you liked this episode, please share the word. Recommend the moment to anyone who might enjoy unpacking these complicated times with us. If you like the moment, pero también te gustan los podcasts en español, check out Radio Ambulante Studios. Our shows Radio Ambulante, El Hilo, and Central are really worth a listen. I'm Lisa Cerda. Thanks for listening.